Very good morning to all of you. First of all, it's a real privilege for me to really host this webinar today with Mr. Pradeep Panicker here. And to be very frank, the person here next to me doesn't need any introduction. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Pradeep Panicker, the Chief Executive Officer of GMR Hyderabad International Airport Limited. With an impressive career spanning over 30 years in the infrastructure and financial sector, Mr. Pradeep Panicker has held prominent roles at the organization like Feedback Ventures, L&T Group, IDBI, and PricewaterhouseCoopers. Before becoming the CEO of Hyderabad Airports, Mr. Panicker served as Deputy CEO of GAIL and played a key role as an Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer for the aeronautical business at the GMR Delhi International Airport. He has been an integral part of GMR Group for the past 20 years, contributing to major projects, including the modernization of the Indira Gandhi International Airport, IGI. A chartered accountant and cost work accountant by profession with a diploma in merchant banking and financial services, Mr. Panicker has successfully transformed Hyderabad Airport into a technological advanced aviation hub. Under his leadership, initiatives such as e-boarding, DigiYatra, contactless technologies have enhanced the airport's operation and passenger experience, positioning it as a model for the innovation in the aviation sector. Sir, we are honored to have him here today to share his insight and expertise on the navigating the skies, the post-COVID world of aviation. First of all, please join me in welcoming Mr. Pradeep Panicker. Sir, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Akhil, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So coming to the main topic, so navigating the skies, and you see the post-COVID world of aviation. I think there is no better person than you to understand, to actually, tell us exactly how the world has changed post-COVID. So to be very frank, because you have swum through the whole, the challenges which COVID has put up and how the aviation industry has come out of it. So how you see in the last 5 years the post-COVID world of aviation, that how the airports and aviation sector has come out of it. If you can give a brief, yeah.
So prior to the onslaught of COVID, Indian aviation was poised very clearly for a takeoff. And if you do recollect, in fact, Hyderabad, if I would look at Hyderabad, in 2014, we were doing about 11 million passengers. And by 2019, we had done close to 21 million passengers. So that was the kind of growth. Just 5 years, we had almost doubled our traffic. So this was the hectic pace which we are seeing not only in Hyderabad, but almost the entire aviation sector. And COVID did bring put a full stop kind of a thing, not a full stop, perhaps a comma, I would say, because we have rebound. So what happened was in the year which COVID did incur, the first year, we only did about 8 million. 2 months we were shut down. Thereafter, we started with a trickling manner, and gradually the traffic went up. So that year we did about 8 million. The year post the COVID, in fact, and the next year thereafter we did 12 million. And last year, which is the third year after, effectively, we did 21 million. So we're back to what the pre-COVID numbers were by the time we hit last to last financial. And the last financial year, again, we grew at a very high pace, and we have crossed 25 million. So that's where we were on March 31st, 2024. And in this financial year, we're looking at the numbers touching close to 29 million. So the growth trajectory is back with respect to the passenger numbers, and it's very clear indication that if you look at the number of orders, the orders of aircraft that were placed by major carriers, be it Air India or Indigo, India again is poised for a huge growth. That's where we are today. And with respect to the COVID per se, so there were tough times. We had to do a lot of stuff. We had to ensure that the safety of the passengers was paramount. And also ensure that all the protocols which were there to be maintained, to ensure our country, the people who come into our country, they are also screened. So there are a lot of things which we had to do, which were again being on a day-to-day basis being modified, the policies based on what was emerging. It was a very dynamic phase of our, or something like not a very fixed kind of. It was kept more. It was very changing regularly on a daily basis, and we had to basically play our part of the role. We were involved in the vaccine transportation and so many other things. It's a learning, a hard learning, but that's how life is.
Thanks so much, sir. So I mean, you have put a very important point that COVID was challenging. It was very hard learning, and I think as a team, your whole team has really worked out to make sure that the whole industry comes out of it at the earliest. And I think passenger numbers and everything has come out well. At least if you look at the forecast and the present state of the passenger flow. But also, I think in the last 5 years, the whole focus has also shifted towards technology, because somehow people also realize that there's also become a very cornerstone at the core of aviation sector now in terms of how to make sure the passenger experience improves, but also some way or the other it is also a kind of a preventive measure to prevent another issue with pandemic or anything comes next. I mean, that's how people say in the newspapers that the technology looks to be the only answer by which if something else happens the same like COVID in the next 5 years or 6 years, I think technology is the only answer by which we can still prevent it. So, as a CEO, I mean, as a leader of an organization, how your priorities have changed in terms of technology and how technology has really impacted the airport sector.
It's a very apt question at this moment, given the fact that the entire world, not only aviation, is moving at a very, very frantic pace in adoption of technology. Primarily, I mean, you might have heard this cliched statement, we should not adopt technology for technology's sake. It's primarily being done either to enhance the passenger experience or to increase the operational efficiency, or if there's a possibility of reducing our cost, or if there's a possibility of enhancing our revenue. So these are the 4 or 5 opportunities we look at. Of course, things like safety, security, all those things also come into play. They're all in a way the passenger experience part of it. So we have been at the forefront as Hyderabad Airport in the adoption of various technologies in the past also. We were the first airport in which we had adopted basically a complete pass-through, an e-boarding solution where you don't require even a paper sheet. Just come in with your mobile and you could actually enter the terminal all the way up to the boarding of the aircraft. This first adopted and subsequently rolled out at various of the airports. We also tried out what is called the facial recognition system. It was just around COVID or just around that we tried this out, where your face becomes your boarding pass. So where you register and then you automatically enter, and once you enter, then you can go all the way to the board the aircraft. So we, along with a few other airports, were trialing this out, and then that's when the government intervened and said it doesn't make sense to have separate systems in different airports. If it is an integrated system, which would integrate the entire network, it would work better for India, and that's how DigiYatra was born. So we were one of the pioneers of this DigiYatra system, and based on our POC, finally it got rolled out. Many of the people who are listening today would have already enrolled for DigiYatra, but that's how DigiYatra came about. So DigiYatra is an outcome of some of the early initiatives taken by Hyderabad and few other airports. In addition to this, we have also been a pioneer in the use of FASTag. We have the first car park in India which uses FASTag for parking. So you don't need to take a tag for parking, and when you go out, you don't have to pay the money. You just drive in and drive out. And the FASTag deducts the amount of money which you need to pay for the parking. So that's another first which we introduced. Then we have also been toying around with various other things and technology. Now we have created a complete digital twin, which basically completely the 5,500 acres is mapped, and we are able to monitor the entire airport operations center. We had it earlier. That was called the AOCC, which is limited to the airside and the terminal. And of course, with the much more technological thing, and with the use of CCTV on which algorithms are loaded, we are able to do a significantly improved, enhanced monitoring and resource allocation as we may do for the operations. So that's something which we are in the verge of inaugurating shortly. That's something which it's there in global airports, but we are one of the first to do it in India. And that's again very, very happy of doing. In addition to this, in addition to this, can you hear me? I mean, is there a challenge?
Yes, sir. Well, was generally just because slightly when you move, no, so your voice slightly fluctuates,
Okay,
slightly. So that's why. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, maybe. Oh, is this better now? You're on mute, I think.
You can make your chair slightly come forward so that you don't need to bend too much.
That is the. Okay. Is it better?
Yeah, perfectly better. Now it's really coming clearly. Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The
I didn't
monitor
want to
panel.
disturb you. That's why I messaged him.
Okay, fair enough. No problem. Yeah. So I think where was it at that time when we were talking? We were talking about the technology.
Technology.
Yeah. So we have also introduced our own EPOS, which is basically the electronic point of sale, and various other elements which we are working on. We're working on possibly package handling solutions, screening systems, you name it. Various different types of technologies we are working on. How do we monitor speed of vehicles in the airside? So there are various technologies we're working on, including possibly increasing the runway throughput capacity with the use of technology. So there are various things, and technology does have a key role to play going forward. Group chairman keeps telling that most of the companies are migrating into a technology-driven phase, and if we do not do that, we would be left behind. So we are definitely one of the pioneers, and we feel that we need to keep investing and implementing in technology to stay ahead of the curve.
So just to extend this question, so slightly extending this question. So obviously, when you say technology which is getting implemented in airports, so obviously all of those technology may not be developed inside the airport. So you may have, I heard that Hyderabad Airport also have an innovation hub, which is Innovax. I don't know whether this name is correct. And you may be calling startups as well in terms of showing their product and services. So, I mean, it looks like more of a, now airport looks like more of a innovation center where all the other stakeholders can come and join, and together they develop the process. So, is there any, I mean, your insight in terms of how you're making every stakeholder inclusive in the technological strategy? I mean, how you are making sure that you're enabling outsiders to come in, but at the same time you're making sure that everything is proper, the security is maintained, and the product is fine and good enough to make sure that it's implemented. Because I mean, the airport has much more challenges in terms of taking outside help and implementing it compared to a normal industry. I mean, for them, it's okay if it is slightly fails. It's okay. You can still change it and all those things. But airport has its regulation and a lot of other aspects to be taken care of. So how this has been taken care of? Yeah.
You're right. We have been close to the time when the COVID was there, just around that. We had embarked on this journey of innovation, of the creation of what's called Innovix now. So it's in house in the same building, I sit on, sit in, and we actually what we do is we have actually had meetings with various of our departments with the Innovix team, wherein the teams spell out or put forth what the challenges they are currently encountering. And when those challenges are put forth, then the Innovex team goes around the seeking out help from various partners who are experts in technology, whether this challenge can be basically overcome or worked on using some kind of a technology. So the Innovex in a way is a matchmaking front. So the subject matter expertise is with us, and the tech or the solution provider comes forth, and we co-create the solution. And many of the innovative solutions are being developed here, including what I just mentioned about the digital twin and using of camera algorithms. It's something which is being done the first time in Hyderabad. And how do we ensure that, I mean, it's not a place where we can experiment in the, passengers are moving, aircrafts are moving, a lot of safety and other regulations are there. So we have test beds where we do a POC. We check it out. After we assure that it is working and it is safe enough to operate the operations, we bring it in. So we have an adequate safe kind of a mechanism where we not basically inject something new, absolutely untested. That's how we go about it. So Innovex looks at various options. In fact, maybe various developers come on board. We give them space. We also invest in them in case we feel that there's a potential for future development. So we also try to see when we are co-creating, because this expertise with us, that we also take some kind of commercial interest in that maybe in the future. So these kind of things, co-create the product, possibly go to the market together. Those kind of stuff also we work on.
I mean, it's very good to see that airports functions and rules have changed a lot in the recent time. I mean, if you look at 10, 20 years back, the airport is a place where the flight can come and take off. I mean, sorry, it's a very plain definition by which 20 years ago people used to define airport. But today, airport looks like a hub where you have real estate, you have startups, you have innovation, you have technological hub. It's like a whole modernized city where different functions are happening around. So sir, seriously, I think it's a very interesting time for aviation. So if after the COVID happened, the struggles which you have gone through, and now the technology is coming up, what do you see the future in terms of the passenger behavior? Do you think there's a change in terms of how the passenger preference have happened in the last 2 years, and how you see the future? What major trends which are going to come in the aviation industry, especially specific to airports?
So you have very aptly said you used to have a building with a runway earlier, and that is what an airport was. Possibly in India, we are a bit late to have realized that the airports started transforming. If you have had an opportunity to visit Changi or Dubai or any other such similar airports, you would realize that they have basically turned around the entire logic of an airport. To some extent, people saying it's a shopping mall attached with a runway. That's one definition. Second, people saying that it is now not only that, it also is a city. Now it's an aero city, the concept of an aerotropolis. Metropolis or megapolis has got a city which is developed maybe around a port or a railway station. Now we're talking about a city developing around an airport, aerotropolis. This is what Professor John Pasada has put forth as his thesis. And one of the first aerotropolis was Memphis of FedEx, where after FedEx set up Memphis, the entire city developed. Although Dubai we can claim as a joint development and the development of financial capital kind of a thing, but the airport had a very key role to play in the development. Right? Similarly, Changi had a key role to play. So you're right. As we are embarking on such a journey, if you do recollect even Delhi, say 20 years back, Gurgaon and all or Dwarka were perhaps not even existing or very, very scarcely existing. And Palam Airport, which was the old airport of Delhi, the Terminal 1 where it is, was perhaps the end of the city. Beyond that, people actually, it was a different town. In fact, you had to go to a different town called Gurgaon or perhaps. That has changed now. The city has grown around the airport. The airport has become a very key element of the entire economic ecosystem there. So airports are engines of economic growth and thereby naturally create cities around it. If you look at both Hyderabad and Bangalore, these were airports which were located far from the city at the time when they were created. And what we see today is basically a complete the economic shift is happening towards the airport in these three cases. And the area around the airport, which when we were constructing is no longer the area. It's actually become a very modern city now. Of course, there are still areas, not as, I would say, not as developed or not as busy as Delhi or Bombay today, but it's a matter of time, and the developments will come. So, in the case of Hyderabad Airport, we had consciously, the state government at that time, consciously decided, and they had seen developments like Memphis, Dubai, and all. So, they consciously wanted us to develop a aerotropolis, an airport city around the airport. Out of the 5,500 acres allocated to us for development of the airport, about 4,000 acres would be going for pure play, what you call as an airport development. Balance 1,500 acres, very large area, is being kept aside for development of an airport, aerotropolis, an airport city. And in that 1,500 acres, already around 250 acres have been developed as a special economic zone. And within that, we have various, we have MROs, we have various other manufacturing facilities. So the true sense, an aerotropolis is evolving and developing around the Hyderabad airport. And outside of 5,500 acres also, we see a lot of other developments coming, be it IT parks, be it industrial parks. So we are seeing development which is coming in around the airport. So that's how I believe the airport would be a key role in developing an economic ecosystem, which will be fueling further growth.
So with that, I think some years back I heard an article. I read an article which said, "Is it the stalls which will run the airport or the runways?" I don't know whether that matters today a lot, but just to give a highlight, if you can, uh, do airports really want to go in a model where the aeronautical revenue or the revenue which is basically coming from the airlines will not be a bigger chunk of the priority, and most of the revenue will come from inside, like you have your non-aeronautical revenue, you have hotels, you have you have passenger experience centers, etc., etc. I mean, how this airport model is going to be transformed? I mean, this article when came, it was thought it is going to be very rapid, but it slowed down slightly. I mean, what I felt that it was not exactly happened the same way. But I think, is it the priority of the airports now that we should be more self-sustaining?
In the case of the Indian airport regulatory system, I'm talking about the economic regulatory system, we have what's called aeronautical charges and the non-aeronautical income. In the case of non-aeronautical income, close to 30% of that income which we earn goes towards the cross-subsidizing the aero charges. So that's the module which has been adopted within India. It's what we call a hybrid till. Generally, in the case of London, Heathrow and all, it's a single till. So all the revenue goes into one basket and then they determine the aeronautical charges. In case of Europe, like in Frankfurt or other airports, in Paris and others, it's what's a dual till. So the single till, all your aeronautical costs is put in one bucket and then they determine the cost. So that's how it has been, the model has been. But in the case of India, the government and the regulators have decided to go for what is called a hybrid till, wherein a part of the non-aeronautical income is taken to cross-subsidize the aeronautical charges. So this is the module under which it is done. And this model, what is happening today is that because almost all the airports in India are going through a very hectic or a frantic pace in which the capitalization, capital infusion is required, because growth is so hectic. As I was telling you, most of the people, if you talk to either in Europe or in any other part of the world, will not realize that we always talk about growth of 15% or 20% per year. That's kind of growth they see in a decade. We see it in a year. So that's naturally our capex program therefore had to be much more hectic. And if the capex program is hectic, there's a very good possibility that our aeronautical charges will continue to remain buoyant or high. Because if you're incurring capex, you need to recover. Although it's cross-subsidized by non, it will continue to be at a high pace. And non-aeronautical goes on two fronts. Non-aeronautical, one is the spend per pax goes up because naturally with inflation and also the propensity to spend with the passenger, it does go up. However, the second element is as the terminals do grow larger, we have much more larger footprint where we can do commercial outlets. So both these put together, automatically the total area available goes up. So non-aeronautical revenue also goes up at a pace which is higher than the passenger. Having said that, non-aeronautical cost remains high because the capex requirements are there and they need to be recovered in a specified period. So that is how this structure works. If you ask me, in Europe and in other parts of the world where there are more mature and more stable airports, non-aeronautical revenue almost contributes to 60% of it. Only aeronautical is 40%. Whereas in the case of India, it is not the case. The non-aeronautical revenue is around 40% and the aeronautical revenue is 60%. So we will transition to a more mature balance base as and when our expansion programs and all the capex programs come towards an end. Like I think today, Mumbai, the old airport, will not be having a significant capex because they have almost hit that terminal capacity. And the chances are that their further capex will be more for remodification or modernization of the airport rather than actually going in for large-scale terminal construction or airside construction. So there is a possibility in that airport we will gradually move towards a higher non-aeronautical revenue compared to aeronautical revenue. So the aeronautical revenue by nature is a recovery of the capex and the OpEx cost. So as your capex starts stabilizing or becoming less, the recovery also goes down. So that's where we are.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That was a point I thought just to get to.
Yeah, I think one point which you asked me, I did not answer was regarding the profile of passengers.
Yeah.
The profile of passengers has evolved, has changed. Pre-COVID, what we used to see a lot of business travel, people going for travel, for meetings and various other things. During COVID, the emergence of VC or what you call Zoom and the other Teams and all has to some extent reduced the need for business travel. But what we are seeing is a rebound or perhaps a significant growth in the passengers who are traveling for leisure to meet their family. And this has in fact, more than recovered the loss what we have seen in the business travel. And this passenger is actually willing to spend more time. If they come to the airport fast earlier, they want to experience the thing. So they're willing to spend money more. It's a different evolution we have seen, which is good. And we believe this is what is going to be the future. With respect to the domestic versus international, we have seen a good growth in domestic. International, though it has grown, international, actually, the passengers who are again traveling are Indians. The Indian diaspora was coming and going frequently. The foreign tourists coming into India has, I think, still to recover back to the pre-COVID levels. I think this year we might recover. So that's where we are. But we have been seeing Indian tourists, we have been seeing Indian families, Indian diaspora coming back, and overall growth. So the growth is there, but it's a different competition.
Good point, sir. I mean, with that, I want to also change gears here. I mean, in the sense when we are with more growing airports and more passenger coming in, sustainability is also becoming a priority. I mean, for the airports, I mean, it has become a priority for I think long period of time. So, what is the initiatives Hyderabad Airport is looking at, or as an airport which is looking at on the sustainability point of view? For example, I heard, I mean, I may be wrong, but I heard that Kochi International Airport became the first solar airport, that a complete solar airport. Taxi bots have come to most of some of the airports in India. I think major airports in India. So somehow fuel efficiency has become a priority. The same way, carbon footprint has become a priority. So what is the current agenda in terms of an airport on sustainability?
Yes, aviation and sustainability are, I think, two sides of the same coin as we speak today. primarily driven by the fact that if you look at the more developed countries and Europe in particular, there is a lot of angst against aviation and I mean, you see the Greenpeace people going onto the runways, taking the sort of the runway. Those kind of stuff is already happening. And what we have seen in these countries is that now they are also perhaps trying to cut short the flights which are within 1 hour or 2 hours, which you can reach by train. So those kind of things are already happening in those kind of, again, primarily arising out of the need for less pollution, because after all, global warming is a reality. So given that, each of us have to play a key role. And if there was a matter or a number which they talked about that aviation contributed 2% of the global carbon footprint. That's the kind of thing that was going around. Naturally, in an aviation industry or in the airport sector, if you were to look at the entire the amount of carbon footprint or the kind of carbon that is generated, there are three different scopes: scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Scope 1 and 2 are primarily more to do with the airport, and scope 3 is more to do with the airlines and external taxis and all come into the airport. In this case of scope 1 and scope 2, what we have done is almost the entire airport requirement is today from green power. We have a 10 megawatt power plant which is there on premises, and we have requested the government to allow us to enhance the footprint of the solar power. At that juncture, the state government came back saying that they would supply green power rather than us going ahead and investing. So we have taken green power from the state government, maybe at a slightly higher cost, but then this takes care of our entire airport requirement. So that's how we are also a completely green airport today. From the perspective of scope 1 and scope 2, almost 99% of our requirement are today being met through green electricity. In addition to this, what we are doing with respect to the green initiatives at the airport is that we have constructed all our air bridges, what is called the bridge mounted equipment, which is the preconditioned air and the ground power units. Now, these are again there in various other airports in India. Delhi being the first case where we did it when I was in Delhi. I was actually involved in this project. So in Hyderabad also, we have implemented this project. What it does is when the aircraft is on ground and attached to the aero bridge, we can shut down the auxiliary power. The APU also burns a significant amount of ATF when it is on ground, just to keep the aircraft the systems on and the air conditioning on. So these two systems are in a position to, when you actually attach that to the aircraft, you're able to shut down the auxiliary power unit. So not only does it save the carbon which is being emitted, but also it's in a way increasing the life of the APU. So from that both the perspectives, it is a very useful methodology which we are adopting. So this is being just implemented recently. It's slowly catching on. And as when it does, significantly further reduce the scope 3 emission, which is the aircraft emission. In addition to that, we have in our airport identified 7. Our airport has been developed on what is called, the profile of the land is not a very plain, single, straightforward land. If you are conversant with the Hyderabad land profile, you will realize it's on a plateau and the surface is quite not smooth. It's undulated and there are a lot of. So we had, even when we constructed our southern precinct of the terminal and the runway, we had a lot of leveling to do. And in certain pockets, we have certain areas which are slightly more deeper than the other areas. So we have identified 7 such locations where we have been able to create water bodies. And these water bodies are, they get rain-fed. They do get rain-fed and they collect a lot of water. One of our largest reservoirs, we call it the R2 reservoir. It has the ability to give us water, meet our water requirements for the entire airport for 4 months. We have a water treatment plant. Of course, we do not use the entire water because we have a commitment to draw water from state government also. But up to 1,000 clearly that we utilize our own water treatment. So then that way we are actually also reducing our pressure on the state government and other water authorities. That's the other element. If you have traveled through the Hyderabad airport, you will observe that we have a very beautiful horticulture development. And then entire horticulture development also requires water. And that water actually is also treated water, which comes from our STP and our other elements. So we recycle the water we have. And that water is also being monitored with the help of cloud-based sprinklers and all. So everywhere, wherever it's possible, we try to see if we can reduce the consumption of water. And we are a zero discharge facility. So whatever water we or the sewage or anything what we utilize is completely the water is completely reused in our premises. So we do not discharge wastewater into the system. And our own waste also we are converting into manure. So this is the kind of things which we do, wherein we are able to ensure that our carbon footprint is least. We do not harm the environment to the extent possible. And we are also one more thing which we are now actively involved, also innovation involved, and our partners, ADP, also are involved, is trying to develop sustainable aviation fuel. The government of India has made SAF 1% of the current fuel, and as it when it increases, we also wish to play a key and active. So these are some of the initiatives which I can at least recall top of mind what we have had.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, really good point. I mean, there are a lot going on in airport in terms of sustainability. Parallelly, you are also making sure technology goes fine. Parallelly, you're also making sure that the passenger experience goes fine. Parallelly, you're expanding it also. I mean, to make sure that. I mean, I hope there will be more runways coming up in Hyderabad Airport in the next coming 5-6 years.
Yes, yes. So currently, what we have the capacity we have created. Let me just perhaps take you back to the fact when we started the airport. The construction of the airport started in 2005, and by 2008, when we inaugurated, we had developed a total area of 120,000 square meters, and we had the ability to park close to 30 or 40 aircrafts here, and we had the single runway. Today, what we have done is we have expanded the terminal from 120,000 square meters to 380,000 square meters. It's more than 3 times the size. It's a modular expansion we have embarked on. The terminal which was there has expanded in both directions towards east and west. And the primary runway continues to be the main runway. And we have a secondary runway, which is primarily the taxiway. The main taxiway also converted into a runway. So as and when the primary runway is not available to maintenance, the secondary runway can be operated. The primary runway today has a capacity to handle 42 movements per hour. And we have got a study done from NATS UK, which says that with some minor tweaks and development of capability of the ATC operators, we can go close to 56 movements. 56 movements is perhaps the highest movement a single runway than anywhere in the world has achieved. Gatwick is where they have achieved that number. But on a conservative basis, we believe we can take 51 movements per hour. And if we are going to take up to 51 movements per hour, we will be able to handle close to 50 million passengers per year on the southern precinct. So I had mentioned a bit earlier, the airport has 5,500 acres of land, out of which 4,000 acres has been earmarked for aviation-related development. And the southern precinct, which we are talking about, is close to 2,000 odd acres, which is handling this, and we believe it can handle up to 50 million. The northern precinct, where we have land which is available with us in our position, we have earmarked for development, where we wish to mirror the development of the southern precinct, the northern precinct, with one more runway and a last term. The saturation plan for this airport is 100 million, and if we are able to balance the peaks, we may be further able to increase the total passenger throughput. So, in context of the aviation, there are only 2 airports which have hit 100 million ever so far. One is Atlanta, the other one is Beijing. Of course, by the time we reach 100 million, many airports in India would have also perhaps hit. So that's the overall picture of the potential which we are seeing develop.
On a lighter note, I don't know why aviation airport sector has to be called a sector, because there is no industry which is not working inside the airport. Every single thing is inside the airport. And you being the CEO of a particular place where every industry is working, in a sense, you have aeronautical, non-aeronautical, energy, and you have airlines. Everything is working out. So I have a personal question. What is a day-to-day life of a CEO of an airport? Do you get time to sleep?
You know, we are all human at the end of the day. We need to have our biological needs are equally met. It has to be met. There's no way. The the trick in this is that we need to have very strong teams and very clear cut delegation of power, very clear responsibility matrix. So these are all in place. So most of the things which happen in the airport happen as a matter of practice because of the various teams who are empowered to take the decisions. Or things which require my attention, I mean, I'm aware myself, and also are brought to my notice and where I have to take a decision. So that is how the delegation of power works in any complex environment we look at. So naturally, if something is happening and if something I need to know, it's not practice. Apart from that, whichever is very critical element which I need to focus, I keep that focus on that. And rest is the team is exceptionally good. And another element, perhaps, which is maybe many people who are not from the aviation may not know, in this airport, which is today operating at, which is going to hit 29 million passengers in the coming year. Just the aviation part of the business, there are 20. Now, there's 20,000 people. How much actually belongs to the airport company, IIM Hyderabad International Airport? It's around 1,200. So it is actually a stakeholders whom we have to manage very well. It's basically we have to keep constantly interacting with them. For example, CISF here is around 300. And that force is going to grow further to 4,000 maybe in some more years, by the time we are likely to hit that 49 million passengers. In addition to that, there is customs, there's immigration, there are all the concessional shops which are there, you see. The airlines have a large number of people. Then there are ground handlers who have a big, large number of people. The fuel pump, flight caterers, and you name it. There are umpteen number of different service providers who are there, the cleaners, the cleaning staff. So all those people are there. Many of them are contracted with us. Many of them are our customers. Many of them are government stakeholders. So how is it that we manage all these people? We regularly have various forums in which we have to constantly meet. There are team members who go and meet them regularly. And each of us know what our responsibility, what our role is. So that's how it works. It's like a city. The city mayor may be there, but the city works. The mayor still does have time to plan the future and look at targets.
That's very humble of you, sir. That I agree with your point that team is very required, but I mean you're also at the front of it, so I mean it's your skill as well. So with that, I want to ask you a last question, which is very crucial for all the students who are going to watch it today and who are going to watch it tomorrow as well. What do you look for a successful candidate to become a leader? I mean, what they should prepare for, and what you look for. I mean, what is the main priority as a candidate or future leader? What they should look for?
One thing which is the eagerness to learn is very important. And pick up, all kind of work which comes in the way and keep delivering. Because when you look at candidates from the Management Institute, they're looking at future potential leaders who would be in a position to keep learning, because the world is changing at such a hectic pace. I mean, you also talked about how technology is totally changing the entire scenario. Now the kind of things which we're looking at is, the Gen AI or the artificial, not only artificial intelligence, there are so many other things which are currently ongoing in the technology front. So these are things which are going to disrupt almost all the industries. And you need to be on top of it. You need to know how to use those tools also. And the people who will know how to use the tools, not necessarily that you have to become a technology expert, but you need to know how this works. You need to keep learning. It's not what is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. Third thing is willingness to take decisions, responsibility. You cannot shy away from taking responsibility decisions. If you are expected to take a decision, do not look for your boss to, don't push the thing up. If you push anything up, the boss will think you are not competent to take the decision. The good or the bad of the decision remains in your team, not your team. You are responsible. You need to have the ability to take that as it comes. You will make mistakes. That's okay. I mean, we are not really worried about people who have attempted and made mistakes. We are more worried about people who are really not going to start. So that's how we look at candidates. We look at these. And believe me, whatever we have done in college or anywhere else, life in the corporate is totally different. And it is not, you have to relearn everything. So don't come with a fixed mindset that I have done my MBA or I've done my this thing, therefore I need to get this kind of humility is needed. You have to pick up and learn, relearn the whole skill again. Whatever you learn will help you. That is something which is the basic foundation on which we build. But you need to be eager to learn. That's the unlimited mantra.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that's very important message for all of us. I mean, not for the student as well. I mean, for me and for everybody who are the faculties who are looking at. I think everybody needs to learn and relearn because the world is changing so much. And I think what you have said is very right. That humility is very important in terms of what you know is not something very big. It may
And
be
if
relevant, may not be relevant.
the point is, if you are not an empty enough to accept knowledge coming in, you think you're full, then the knowledge will just pour over you and you will not absorb it. So you have to, I mean, and I've seen this in almost all great personalities, including our own chairman. When he recently organized a complete program on artificial intelligence for the entire senior leadership team, and he attended the whole class from the morning till the evening. So, and that is the kind of hunger he carries. He's 75 plus today. I mean, and naturally that drops on to all of us. And in fact, the entire senior leadership team went through a workshop on how to use artificial intelligence, how to make models, how to make movies, how to make. So that's the kind of thing we have done. I mean, today, I mean, at my age, it's not so easy. Not as easy as youngsters. I mean, I see my kids; they do a far faster job than. But we need to keep abreast with what's happening.
That's really great, sir. And if we get an opportunity, we want to really show the AI which we have developed our own.
Sure.
And yeah. And I'm not saying it is for it may be of use to you, but it may be a good to see. I mean, how youngsters and everybody is doing a lot of things in AI, and it may be of use to you. Maybe. But
Yes.
I'll pakka show you the work. And because many of the industry who came here were surprised the way it has happened. Because
Great.
the good part of AI is that no, you don't need to be a big infrastructure company. I mean, if you know it, a lot of outputs may be breathtaking sometimes. But anyways, with that, sir, thank you so much for your time. I hope I have managed to take uh, to close it with the appropriate time of yours because I know you have a lot of meeting assigned. But really, thank you for the patience, sir. And seriously, because you coming in picture, I mean, it will be a really great help for the students which we have, the students who are doing it for the aviation as well as for the non-aviation student, because the concept which you have really discussed about is not only for aviation, it has a lot of stakeholder perspective. With that, thank you so much for your time. Thank you really so much. And we will get back to you with the feedback of the video and the numbers which we're going